Am I the asshole for wanting to get rid of my rabbit? I f16 got a rabbit when I was 13. I did not choose to get a rabbit, my parents surprised me with her. I was mentally not ready to own a pet myself, but I guess my parents thought I was. I have to feed her, give her water and clean her cage. I feel bad for her because she just sits in her cage all day and my mom won't let me get her out. I told my mom I want to give her away to someone who would actually want her. She said that I should keep her so as to learn responsibility. But as the one cleaning her cage and taking care of her, I felt like I should be able to say I don't want to keep her as I'm not good at it. I'm trying to recognize that I'm not responsible yet, and I know at my age I probably should be, but I just am not yet. Am I the asshole?
Vote wise, not the asshole. No one should ever be forced to take care of an animal they don't want. It's not fair to them or to the animal. That said, if you can't get your mom on board, you are kinda stuck.
Definitely not the asshole. But maybe try to negotiate with your mom other ways you could learn responsibility, like getting a job or volunteering. Something that you still have to commit to for a certain amount of time each week, but that you'll enjoy more than taking care of the rabbit.
Not the asshole. You're more like a really responsible kiddo that knows her limits and actually cares for the pet. Try to contact a local shelter and ask them for help to find a new home and how to deal with your parents. I think you need advice from a real person you can trust. Reddit isn't the best place for that winking face. Also, you maybe tell your parents that your rabbit needs to roam the house. It's not far from abuse to keep it in a cage all day. And because your mother doesn't want the rabbit outside, you can't take full responsibility for that animal. You already learned to be responsible. You are able to see that you can't give your rabbit the life it deserves. That's fucking lit. The world needs people like you, who can be that self-aware. In the meanwhile, you could give your rabbit a bit of love. Play with it, cuddle it and give it some of its favorite treats. But whatever you do, stay safe, strong and healthy, and the way you are.
Not the asshole. Rabbit owner checking in. That bun does not deserve to be stuck with a poor quality of life because your parent wants you to learn the commitment of responsibility. Responsibility can also be thoughtfully finding a better home for the pet you cannot adequately take care of. Independent adults have to make those kind of decisions quite often. Rabbits are very typically mistreated because of the mentality that they are easy cage animals and good pets for children. Please do whatever you can to ensure that your pet rabbit can be placed into a good home. There are a couple of good subreddits that could help you with that, and there are rabbit sanctuaries in some places. Try r/rabbits for a good start. Message the mods if you feel desperate. Best of luck.
Not the asshole. Not wanting to take care of an animal should not make you feel like you're irresponsible. When I lived alone, I loved not having to take care of another living being. It gave me the freedom to spend more time working or visiting family and friends.
Not the asshole. It wasn't your choice to care for a rabbit. That's not teaching responsibility, that's teaching you not to have boundaries when it comes to your parents dumping stuff on you. The responsible thing would be to recognize you're not interested in giving the rabbit the care she needs, which you have, and helping to find her a good home. The responsible thing is to communicate with your parents and set that boundary. Pets should never be gifts unless the recipient is on board. Your mom sounds like she's taking it as, you're just being lazy. It may be difficult to have her understand otherwise, which is why communicating with her is key. Rabbits actually need a lot of supervised out-of-cage time to run and hop around and feel happy. I feel bad for my rabbit I got when I was a kid, 11, by choice, because me and my parents didn't understand the rabbit's needs for space and it lived in its cage 99% of the time.
Not the asshole. But make sure you find a new, good home all on your own and arrange the adoption. This might be tricky, but it's the only acceptable course of action. Your parents can't force you to keep it, it's your pet. They likely wouldn't even notice he's gone for a while.
Not the asshole. That sounds like terrible living conditions for a rabbit. They need much larger cages than people tend to assume. They can be litter box trained. If your mother would allow it, there's no reason the poor rabbit couldn't run around outside its cage. A rabbit is not a lot of work, but it was not your choice to become responsible for a rabbit.
Not the asshole. It's mature of you to want to give your pet a home where it can have a higher quality of life. I also think it's ridiculous to surprise someone with a pet that they didn't have any interest in. How much trouble would you get in if you gave it away without your mother's permission?
Not the asshole. A rabbit shouldn't be inside a cage all day. They have to be let out. Just like how birds are also supposed to be free roaming in the house.
Not the asshole. Your mom is horrible for forcing you to keep an animal that she won't let you properly care for. Rabbits aren't meant to just sit in cages.
Not the asshole. You are far more responsible than your parents as you understand what a big commitment a living being is and that it requires love and proper care and should not serve as an exercise for somebody who does not truly want it and is not allowed to take care of it as it needs. Responsibility does not always mean taking on any and every task or duty or burden. Sometimes responsibility means recognizing your limits. It means I understand that I am not capable or suitable to do this at the time, and so am communicating this fact so that the situation can be resolved better without my involvement, and for that, good job. You are making a very mature call.
Not the asshole. But you are responsible. You've been taking care of this animal for years. There's nothing irresponsible about not wanting a pet that you never asked for in the first place. Not the asshole. The fact you recognize you are not fully able to care for your pet as adequately as someone else would, and therefore deciding it would be best to give your pet away, makes you responsible.
Not the asshole. Your mum is causing her so much harm by not letting the rabbit out, and diminishing any quality bonding with the rabbit. Tell your mum you want to give your rabbit to a home that will actually give her the freedom to run around. That you're being responsible about doing what's best for the rabbit's happiness, and not some idea your mum has about learning responsibilities that comes at the cost of cruelty to animals.
Not the asshole. Give your mum the ultimatum that either she allows you to rehome the rabbit or she helps you build a proper habitat, including a friend. Rabbits aren't usually happy solo. Do some research and show her just how much space rabbits need to be happy. Talk about it constantly, and if she says no, mention that it isn't responsible to keep a bunny locked away all day with no space to play and run. If she has any common sense, she will relent and let you rehome the bun. NTA, if you know that you aren't ready for something like that or you're not interested in it, then you're making the mature and responsible choice by giving the bunny away. You're doing what's best for you and the bunny. Having a pet should never feel like a chore. My parents did that to me with a puppy when I was like 8. I didn't ask for a dog. Never wanted a dog, never even liked dogs. My parents only got her so they could add more things, feeding, walking, washing, etc., to my chore chart, and they made me feel guilty, lazy, and ungrateful for saying I think we should give her away to someone who would appreciate her more. Don't let your parents try to emotionally manipulate you into keeping her if you know both you and the bunny would be better off if she had a different owner.
Not the asshole. You can't take the rabbit out at all. That's terrible. Rabbits should ideally have the run of either a large room or the whole house with a large pen for nighttime or when no one is around. It sounds like you're doing your best with your situation, and I think you're right to want to rehome the rabbit to someone else. The rabbit deserves an owner who wants it and will give it a good life.
Not the asshole. Consider providing your mom with some literature on rabbit care. They are such high-maintenance pets, as you now know, and are never recommended as presents because most people drastically underestimate their needs and they end up being mistreated. Keeping a rabbit in a cage constantly is cruel, so maybe focus on that with your mom. Offer to take on a different type of responsibility, but stress that surrendering the rabbit is responsible since your family can't give it proper care. I'm sorry your parents did this, it really sucks. Before you give the rabbit away, can we have the pet tax? Not the asshole. You didn't ask for her in the first place, you don't want her, and pets do not exist to teach children responsibility. Edit, a word.
Not the asshole. As someone majoring in animal science, I think this is a very responsible decision. Your mom has a very weird idea on how keeping a pet should work, in that she's using it as a teaching tool but isn't actually allowing you to properly take care of it by allowing it to exercise or interact with you outside of the cage. Also, the whole idea of getting someone a pet without telling them is always a bad idea. Good on you for prioritizing your rabbit's well-being. Good luck in convincing your mum to let you rehome it.
The irony here is that your parents want to teach you about responsibility, but forcing you to keep a pet that you didn't want and weren't ready for is extremely irresponsible of them. Normally I don't like the idea of giving away a pet just because you don't want it, but in this case, it isn't a matter of you choosing to get a pet that you couldn't properly care for or that you got on a whim but lost interest in, so I say you're not the asshole because it would almost certainly be in the best interest of the rabbit to be rehomed.
Not the asshole, give that rabbit away ASAP to someone who can really take care of it. You're basically torturing the little fella, they need open spaces and a lot of jumping around. Say no to rabbits in cages. Damn, that stuff makes me angry AF.
Not the asshole. Your parents have stuck you with all of the responsibilities of having a rabbit and none of the benefits. What kind of life is it for your rabbit to be stuck in a cage and never taken out and interacted with? What is the point of having the rabbit if you can't have fun playing with it, more chores? Not the asshole part of being responsible is knowing when something is out of what you can do mentally, economically and trying to fix it. Acknowledging you cannot give your rabbit a good life and finding it a good home is being responsible. Your parents are huge assholes, pets must be wanted not appointed.
Not the asshole. You're aware that your rabbit isn't living their best life. I'm better it's not a big cage and rabbits actually need proper space. Do some research and show your mum that the way your rabbit is being kept now is borderline neglectful even with a clean cage and food and water. Tell them that a responsible pet owner knows that sometimes the best option is to rehome a pet to give it the best life. Then contact some rescues. It won't be hard to rehome a rabbit. Not the asshole, but unless that cage is like 6 foot by 8 foot, it's not big enough for her, and she doesn't have a bunny friend, so she's probably lonely. Rabbitadvocates.org is a good place to start when it comes to learning about what a rabbit needs.
Not the asshole. I am an owner of 2 rabbits, one of which is adopted from a rabbit charity. The issue you have mentioned is very common with rabbits owned by teenagers' children. A lot of parents and people generally see rabbits as easy animals that can be caged. This isn't true. Rabbits need companionship, place to run and jump and specific veterinary care. With proper care, rabbits can live as long as a dog. Over rabbit groups on Facebook and in rabbit charities you can often see teenagers that are seeking help, or even wanting to find a new home for their rabbits because their parents do not have proper knowledge and are not willing to provide the rabbit with place. Agree to go only to closest veterinary, mine is a specialist, but it's nearly a hour ride, etc. Such teenagers gain knowledge and know that their animals have bad conditions, but due to being a minor cannot change anything. Not the asshole, but I would focus on discussion and education in order to have better conditions at your home.
Not the asshole. This may be a bit extreme, but if you can't convince her after reading any of the other suggestions, tips, tell your mom to let you rehome her or you'll be reporting her for animal abuse, because, yeah, keeping that bunny caged up like that counts as animal abuse in most places.
Not the asshole. I myself am an animal person, so I would gladly take any animal, but I understand how you feel. If I were you, I would just give the rabbit to someone and then lie to your mom that it somehow escaped. Or just tell her the truth.
Not the asshole. As an adult, your mother is responsible for any animal, no matter how much she intended for it to be, your pet. In the end, it is not your responsibility.
Not the asshole. Rabbits are group animals and not meant to be alone. You need to rehome him and he would have a way better life. As an owner of free roam rabbits that live in my house, rehome it. It'll be much happier with space to roam and someone to love it. Rabbits are very social. I have 2 and interact with them for a few hours a day. They love to snuggle each other and run around the house together. It's honestly borderline animal cruelty to keep them in a cage at all, in my opinion. I'm not saying you're bad for doing it because it was forced on you, I just want to illustrate that it really is in the animal's best interest to be rehomed. Your parents are asshole for buying a pet for a person who doesn't want one. Your mom is a double asshole for not allowing the poor rabbit to get out in a controlled environment for a while. Your parents are asshole for treating pets as a mere source of responsibility instead of a combination of responsibility plus pleasure. They could have bought a cat, who needs the same level of care, but gives you a lot of happy moments and it's much easier to bond with than a rabbit. You didn't choose this responsibility, so I don't blame you. Not the asshole. Hey op, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I was in a very similar position. My mother also got a family bunny when I was really young that I was expected to take care of. It turns out bunnies are actually very social creatures. They need a companion and they need humans to spend time with them, otherwise they can develop behavioral issues and start biting, especially if it's a male bunny that hasn't been fixed. Your bunny is probably deeply lonely and definitely should be rehomed to where she gets more social input. wikihow.com/tell-if-your-rabbit-is-lonely closing square bracket opening parenthesis wikihow.com/tell-if-your-rabbit-is-lonely closing parenthesis.
Please rehome your rabbit. She deserves a life. Being in that cage is torture. Please.
Not the asshole. Responsibility isn't only to keep them alive but also keep them happy. Having a rabbit in a cage all their life isn't the way to go, and it's weird how she will just get a pet for you but not to let it out. Just the same as having a dog but keeping it in a cage for whatever reason. You're responsible, so you're also responsible for its happiness, and if you want to let it out, you should. If something goes wrong, then it's on you, but if your mom is still adamant on the fact that it needs to be in its cage, open up, stand your ground and say that you're responsible, it's your bunny and you decide what will happen to it.
Not the asshole. It's the responsible thing and best for the rabbit to find her another home for her at this point. Your bunny will not be healthy or happy if she's cooped up in a cage or hutch all day. She needs her exercise and room to hop around. Please do something, not nothing here, for the sweet bunny's sake. Please continue to push until you find her another home or get her into a shelter.
Not the asshole, especially because you didn't choose to adopt the rabbit. It's one thing to have a responsibility to take care of an animal for their whole life because you chose to take that responsibility. It's honestly disturbing that your parents just forced this on you to teach you responsibility. What if you were negligent and got the poor thing killed? The rabbit deserves to be with someone who will love her. I'm not sure how you can convince your parents to go along with it, but you need to find someone who wants to adopt her from you and who really wants to take care of her.
Not the asshole because you're looking after a pet you didn't want the best you can with one hand tied behind your back. You've proven you're responsible, now it's time to pass the rabbit on to someone who can let it run around and maybe have a companion. Keeping a rabbit in a cage by itself full-time is cruel, they're social creatures that need space.
Not the asshole. The rabbit deserves better. Your mom shouldn't use an innocent animal this and be okay with it taking the consequences of you not wanting it. Tell her to get you a houseplant or virtual pet, something without feelings. Or find another way if she feels that you're not responsible enough.
Not the asshole. I think part of responsibility is realizing you can't give this animal the life it deserves. That exact thought is how we ended up adopting both of our rabbits. The previous owners realized rabbits are a lot more work than they thought. If you can't get your mom on board, it's tough, but you're not being an asshole.
Not the asshole. If you feel that the rabbit is better off someplace else, then you have every right to give it away.
Not the asshole. Please give the rabbit to someone who will take care of it properly. It's absolutely terrible for them to sit in a cage for years.
Not the asshole. I have a rabbit too, and they're a lot of work. Cleaning their cage is no freaking joke, and it's nasty. Pets are terrible gifts, because you have to be responsible for a life you may or may not want. Try talking to your mom, explain where you're coming from and that you just aren't ready for this kind of responsibility yet. It's all you can do.
Just give it away. Make sure she can't figure out who took it.
Not the asshole. It's actually extremely responsible to recognize that you aren't in a position to provide the best care.
I run a rabbit rescue. PM me, I will see if I can help you find her a home where she will more space and opportunity to socialize. Rabbits are able to use a litter box like a cat. The rabbit community calls this house rabbits. I have one that lives in my room uncaged. Your story is a very familiar one. This kind of thing happens all the time. Best advice is not to put the rabbit on Craigslist. There are people who scan Craigslist to look for free snake food. A rescue can help you talk to your parents. Your reasoning is very mature. Also, in the rabbit community we spay and neuter then, and it makes them able to litter train, less aggressive, and smell better. The worst outcome from an unwanted pet is to let them go outside. It's a death sentence for a domestic rabbit.
Hey, don't feel bad at all. I had a rabbit when I was a teenager and loved the little guy so much. He was allowed to free roam my house and be part of the family. When I turned 19 I moved in with some friends and brought him along. Turns out one of them ended up highly allergic to him, so he was contained to his hutch more and not allowed out as much or allowed in most of the house. One day it just dawned on me that I could no longer give him the home and happiness he deserved. I found someone with a large backyard and 3 other rabbits and had them adopt him from me. They would send me photos and videos of him happier than ever in his new home, and even though I missed him, his quality of life was more important than my hurt feelings of not owning him anymore.